Hey guys, Jay-Sensei here again. This is going to be what if Luffy had Shadow Style. Now, in the last part, I did say this was off the web during Hikings, it still is. But my notes from the last part got ruined. My baby brother got in my room to get something. He got let into my room to do something. And he spilled away whatever he had with him over my paper. And whatever it was, my paper was really sticky, messed up the ink, all that. So, the notes are dead. So I did rewrite a lot of it. I wrote like half a page based off memory. But some stuff is revamped. I'll go over all of the stuff that, probably not revamped, but I'll go over all of it again. So yeah. Now I do know that I forgot the name of one of Luffy's swords, but I renamed it into something that I think is cooler. So Luffy's sword, Nishoku. They say the same. Nishoku is basically just a purple and black sword with a chain at the end of it, and it's infused with darkness. Because the Kage clan basically are the kind of like the opposing, they're kind of like the opposites of the Lunarians. Lunarians use fire-based attacks. Then we have the Kage clan who uses darkness or umbrokinesis, contrast to pyrokinesis. And Nishoku basically means solar eclipse. Well, Luffy has a white and orange sword to contrast the purple and black sword, and the sword is called Yorokubi. And basically just means like shining joy with no restraints. Being Luffy is Joy Boy. So yeah. And yeah. Also, Luffy's sword, Yokorobi, I think it needed abilities to match the Nishoku. Usually what happens is this sword, well, you know how Sanji said like before the 3 times that his leg ignites with passion? Luffy's sword ignites with passion, like how passionate Luffy is, it ignites. What really happened is basically this isn't an explanation besides what I'm going to say here. Luffy didn't turn the sword so intensely with this devil fruit to the point where the passion of Joy Boy burned into the sword. So the sword kind of just contrasts the other sword's darkness, which is imbued with darkness, from the Kage clan. So yeah, when Luffy was 12, Ace was 15. They ended up selling the Kage clan, or rowing to the Kage clan island, and they trained there under Murintai. And we're taught under Taiga. Taiga. That's her name, Taiga. So yeah, Taiga made Luffy and Ace galleons, and yeah. Murintai was basically their father figure, and his daughter Jun was their sister. So yeah, Luffy learned Kendo, Aikido, Iaido, CQC, Bojutsu, Cho Hui Hong, and Naginata Jutsu. Luffy stayed there for a lot longer than Ace did, so Luffy had a lot more time to learn martial arts. Only martial arts he's mastered here are Aikido, CQC, and Kendo. Kendo, Aikido, Bojutsu. So hold up. He's mastered Kendo, Aikido, Bojutsu, and Naginata Jutsu. And CQC, if I didn't say that already. Those are martial arts he's mastered. 2 for sword, 1 for hand-to-hand combat, and the other one is just for a Naginata. One's also for a pipe, because Luffy usually uses pipes. He learned that off the island. So yeah. Ace only learned Aikido, CQC, and Cho Hui Gong. While Whitebeard ended up teaching the basics of that, Whitebeard, it's much like I forgot from another webtoon. I like it. It's Lookism. I learned of it from Lookism, but yeah. Hold up. Yes, from Lookism, the martial art is really too fleshed out, but I like it. It's basically just this. The character that uses it, Zhao Lung, used it to learn to protect his sky and heaven, being Vivi. And Ace would use it to protect his technical heaven, being a place on Whitebeard's crew, and he'll use this martial art to protect Whitebeard. Luffy would use this martial art to protect his new family, being the Whitebeard Pirates, being the Straw Hat Pirates. So, yeah. But Ace only mastered Cho Hui Hong. Their sister Jun joined Law's crew as more or less resources and a trader. Not trader. She trades things. Also, she's a pretty competent fighter, so she's a pretty good one. I wouldn't say she's insanely strong, but post time skip her bounty would be at least 400 million. So that's how strong she is. Yeah, Luffy and Ace learn to read poneglyphs with Taiga's teachings, as how the Kozuki clan are taught to read poneglyphs. So are the heads of the Kage clan, as they help to make them using their intense powers to carve out like the inscriptions on it. They help like inscript it. So yeah. But Taiga ended up teaching them how to read poneglyphs. They also underwent advanced schooling, so their IQ matches Robin. But Robin has a slight edge, the fact that she has experience. So like she's like a bit smarter than the two, but their IQs are basically almost the exact same. Ace having a bit So Robin a bit above Ace, like, oh, whatever number, but one number above that. Ace one number below that, and Luffy's one number below Ace. So it's like Robin's IQ is 200. Luffy's gonna be 198. That'd be his IQ. Hold up. People want to say that Robin has like 140 IQ. Okay. Luffy would have a 138 IQ, Ace would have 139, Robin 140. So like how the IQs would go. One number below each. So yeah. With this, the Kage clan basically, the members usually unlock Umbra-Kinesis, but only Taiga, Munin-sai, and Jun use it on like an efficient level in every aspect. Luffy and Ace learn a little bit of it, as it's a very teachable thing, as we know Jun from the story. The story, we don't know that he's a member of the clan. Probably he might be a High King, so that may explain his abilities to learn it. But if it's a learnable ability, Luffy and Ace learned it, so yeah. Later in the story, it's revealed that the Jun is actually part of the clan in some way, or the High King granted him the power to learn it. I'll make something up for them. So yeah, Luffy and Ace only know a little bit of it. So yeah, fire shadows from their hands and never know that. Fire shadows. There's like a limit on where the shadows can reach. There's like a limit on where they can reach because, well, they only know a little bit of it. Their range is around 8 to 10 feet. 10 feet is like stretching it. So yeah. Luffy and Ace also learned how to fulfill every role on a crew, like music, cooking, like everything they need on a crew. Luffy and Ace can fill at least every position if they need to, but it will be very stressful. So Luffy technically doesn't need his crew, but he still has them. So yeah, Luffy learned observation hockey and Conquerors, and so did Ace. Luffy's observation hockey basically allows him to, how do I phrase the abilities, actually? I need to learn how to phrase this. Observation hockey gives Luffy basically the ability to see auras, mediumship, or seeing ghosts, quote unquote. Already Luffy kind of just sees, like, how do I phrase this? Oh, fuck. He kind of uses that as like mediumship in combination with future sight, which allows him to see what your body's going to do moving forward. It's like future sight, but he sees you coming at him a lot more, and he sees what he'll do in the future and what will go wrong. So he sees kind of like the mediumship. He senses like a possibility of what's going to happen. So aura, mediumship, and future sight all in one. And he sees what's going to happen. Like he's like a whole different reality of what he would do and what would go wrong if it kills him or injures him. So Luffy will do the opposite and already know how to counter it. Like his mind sight moves 10,000 times faster than what his body would do. That's how it does. That happens. And most importantly, Luffy's love for food would be pancakes and meat. It's a mid in my opinion, and I'd probably put waffles, but Lucky loves pancakes. So yeah. I believe I'll tell the story last part with the East Blue concluding. So this part will start to go into at least the end of Skypiea. So yeah. And Luffy's crew currently consists of Luffy, that's the captain and historian, Alvis as the shipwright and vice captain. Zoro doesn't have a role, he's just Zoro. Nami's the navigator, Usopp's the sniper and assistant handyman. Sanji's the chef. Gin is just Gin. And there's those 7. Now going into the East Blue, we basically end up with Luffy and the crew heading Whiskey Peak. Luffy already feels like killing intent here, so he's not really into all that right now. So yeah. It's forgetting Alvis is a weapon user. He uses basically a long sword compared to his 4-foot height, so yeah. But yeah, so going on, we basically have like Luffy and everyone else there kind of just chilling out for a bit. Luffy doesn't get like so drunk or just enamored by food that he passes out. No, he would not do that. This Luffy has common sense. He would not do so. He's kind of like on edge at all times because this place feels off to him. When he sees Zoro kind of doing his thing, and so almost Monday Switch starts to crush his head, he just appeared and just punched him in the face like full force using Gogo and a pistol, and Thunder flying basically as far as he could. As he used darkness on like the edge of his arm as like a jet booster. Because he was like, oh, jet pistol. His jet attacks are mainly him using like darkness as like a propulsion kind of technique. Luffy technically already has his jet technique. When he looks at your second, it'd be his lightning pistol, because it'd be moving. Probably it's supposed to be lightning. As pre-time with Luffy, I don't think he'd be light speed just yet, or at least when he first unlocks it, he'd be light speed, probably like supersonic at the highest, or not supersonic, probably like Mach 100 at the highest. But who cares? But yeah. But yeah, so basically with this, Luffy would go on and, when they, she kind of just like jet pistol her halfway across the island, and you're flying, hit the ground, and immediately we see Igaram get ready to like launch cannons out of his hair and all that. But Luffy kind of whistles, only for Igaram to be hit back at the tone full force by Gin, and Gin just says, I guess it was lucky. It was lucky for me to stay up all night on your orders, Luffy. He kind of smiles at him, saying, "Damn right it was." They jumps off the building with Zoro, and everyone there. And before Zoro can do anything, same for Gin, Luffy just flicks Conqueror Taki, and everyone there just passes out. Besides Luffy's crew, of course, and Vivi and Kaido. So yeah, so with this, everyone kind of shocked Luffy could do that, and he says, "Oh yeah, it's a special skill that only select few have." As Luffy says, picking his nose, and like, a select few. Luffy seems like an idiot. Like he acts like one, but he's a genius. He's a genius who probably has those dumbest moments. So yeah, like a select few being you. He says, "Yep, me." So yeah, we walk to the ship and tells Vivi, "Come on, we're getting back to Alabasta." He just goes with them, as that's where she wanted to go. And with this, they end up getting a little garden. Albus would see giants in contrast to him being a dwarf, because, well, I believe I said before, his mother is a human, his father is a Tontara. So, yeah, he's a dwarf, not a full-on Tontara. Now, when the giants seem like a Tontuman? Albus says, "I'm a dwarf." And Northern brother, "Okay, dwarf is good. There's like a human disease." Albus says, "No, my mom is just a human, and my dad's a Tontara, so I'm short." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, fair enough." And Alpha kind of smirks, saying, "Yeah, I can beat any run-of-the-mill giant," which kind of sparked up during Boggy's thing, like, "Oh yeah, you think you can beat us? Go ahead." Alpha is able to jump pretty high up just for sake of the fight, and almost cut clean through Dory's shield. I'm pretty sure Dory uses a shield. Yes, Dory uses a shield. So with this, he's almost able to cut through it, but Dory kind of smacked him into a mountainside as he slashed. And Alpha's kind of kicked off of it, and he went for another slash, and the shield actually officially in half, swinging around and kicking Dory clean in the face as hard as he could. And knocked Dory off balance, and Dory kind of just smirked, saying, you have the Tontara speed." Alpha's kind of smirked, saying, "Damn right I do. That's the best thing about me being half Tontara. Also, like that I don't have the weird tails. It's more on my human side. God, Tontara tails are weird." But Alpha kind of smirks, saying, "Yeah, but I'm lucky I beat you." As he just walks away. And, well, everyone should go see Alvis's full abilities on display besides Luffy, who already knew his full capabilities. Alvis helped him a bit, so, yeah. Like, Alvis is the one who made his Yorokobi, so, yeah. So with this, we go on, and just Luffy would go and, he kind of stays there for a bit until... Well, so they left early because everyone there was trying to kill them. Luffy's own gang kind of packed everyone up on the boat, but while they were still asleep, then they left before Mr. Five and Miss Valentine arrived. But here, Miss Valentine and Miss Valentine and Mr. Five arrive, but with Mr. Three and Miss Golden Week. Luffy sent them both arrive, saying there are enemies here, and pointed out the vulture and the groundhog thing as well, telling Plunder and Braggy where the groundhog was. Dory says, hold up. He goes sword, Ayrton just slammed it down the area, and Luffy says, it was good to just use your sword on the flat side. They're done for. Luffy just put a thumbs up, and Dory just nods, saying, "Alright then, what about the other ones? We can handle them too." Luffy says, "No. She few other members handle this." He went up and said, just like where Mr. Five is, Mr. Five would actually appear there. And immediately, Luffy just tells Sanji, "You handle them." Sanji ran forward and kind of kicking at Mr. Five, but Luffy kind of went with him, being kind of helping him dodge all the attacks of Mr. Five. Then he kind of just pointed Nami and Usopp just right towards Mr. Three. So yeah. And with Alvis's help, he's actually able to help Usopp make a climb attack a bit more effective and a bit earlier, actually. With this, that's how he uses it. There's no tricks besides, like, if there's a flower, the flowers are going to shoot a gas at you. And not only this one actually used flowers, but the flowers kind of emitted just a tons of pollen that activated allergies, even if you wouldn't get them. They're kind of like forcibly activating allergies, even if you don't technically have them. This was through sneezing, attracting him. Then Nami used a new ability, which was just a lightning-based attack, which shot clean through his suit and into his chest, as it melted the wax. They started to steal, but the wax melted. So yeah. With this, it electrocutes Mr. 3. Doesn't take him out, but he's on the ground now. Instead of just hit him Darkness Star, as Luffy ended up making the Darkness Star for him, with Alvis's help as well. So Suzuki put him in place with that, and just made him pass out. So yeah. You know how fire leaves burn marks on your face? It'd be like this darkness wouldn't leave burn marks on your face. No, it was kind of how fix this? If it hits you, it's going to leave so much damage internally more than externally. So there's really no external damage; it's more internal. So yeah, and how it works. But yeah. So with Usopp and Nami being able to beat Mr. 3. Well, Nami saw Miss Golden Week about to pain on Usopp, and she was hit her in the face with combat attack, knowing that she wasn't a child full well. And then Valentine tried to crush Sanji, which he doesn't let happen immediately, as he's like, "Oh, a woman's rear coming at my face, amazing." Gin says, "Sorry, no chance," and out of the face with the Tonfas full force, which kind of destroyed her, just rearranged her face. So yeah, that's knocked her out pretty quickly though. He got that game for a second before he kept kicking Mr. 5 in the face as hard as he could, and sent him flying through a tree. So yeah, Mr. 3's defeated now. Mr. 5. So with this, they eventually do leave with Dory and Roggy. As they say, goodbye to Dory and Roggy. Luffy doesn't fight them during the ship, but they do say no, saying they can't really fit on that ship. But it was good to meet them. So yeah. All right, next part. Basically just Alabasta now. Or not Alabasta, Drum Island. Now, as they get to Drum Island and they're met with guns, Luffy immediately can flex his Conqueror's Haki, making everyone fall to their knees but not pass out. Just they're not here to fight, they're honestly just here to get his friend medical attention. They should die. She got a disease, and she just needs treatment. That's about it. Then they'll leave. With this, well, this does kind of relieve fears of Dalton, and he doesn't let them on the island, and he helps them find Dr. Ian Chopper. Luffy himself doesn't really need winter clothing. He's actually pretty solid. He's under intense training despite it being good for him. So he's solid. He's good. But yeah. So as Luffy basically just chilling, they find Dr. Ian Chopper as the rest head up back to the castle. Luffy's actually able to actually follow them up, actually jumping on the rope and running full speed ahead with Nami in his arms. Sanji is following him for the sake of it. And Alvis is just watching this happen as he beat up a few monsters in the shadows. So, yeah. Alvis is 4 feet tall, while these monsters are 13 feet tall. So these rabbit yeti things. So, yeah. But as Dr. and Chopper get to the castle, Luffy followed them there, and he actually asked them to treat Nami and to treat Nami. Yeah, they would do so, and yeah. When he asks what they want for payment, they point to his swords, but he just says, yeah, Nami will find you another doctor. Because he's not offering up these 2 swords ever in his life. He has he actually would not give these up for his crew. One represents all the struggle he went through to get this power, and the one other represents something that took 7 years to forge. He's gonna wait another 7 years for an insanely powerful sword. This Luffy's a bit different. I've said that before. So, he's not going to leave the island, but no, he's gonna find something more valuable. Hopefully, another doctor. So yeah. Well, with this, Luffy does leave with Sanji, and eventually we'll find a few valuable things, and they give them up. Dr. says, this works. So yeah. And with this, Dr. and Chopper are actually able to they're actually able to treat Nami, I guess. So, and Vivi is a voice of reason right now, so, yeah. Chopper still has to join, but Luffy and Sanji don't call him emergency view, they kind of just talk to him. But then, as we have Walpole and his 2 guards arrive, I'm adding Mushuru for the sake of it, so, yeah. Thing is, as Mushuru's heading back, we end up seeing Alvis encounter him first, and Alvis is hanging out with Zoro, who's training. Zoro ends up picking up 2 swords, getting ready to fight. or not, there's three swords you're ready to fight. And, yeah. Ketsu the Third, Nibashiri, and Wataru Shimonji, of course. So, yeah, so Albus picked up his longsword, which is not named right now, and it's a great sword. Kind of like Luffy's Girokubi. It's a great sword, while Luffy's Nishoku is a supreme grade sword. So, yeah. It's a really show the fact that it's imbued with such an ancient power that it's, well, strange. But yeah. So with this, we basically just have like Mushiru, so you can use his like mushroom abilities to kind of like firing them at like Alice and everything. Elvis would use his unnatural light weight compared like how phrase this. Elvis is a big body, but he kind of has like the diet of a Tontada, so and his body can thrive off that because he's half Tontada, like he has a few Tontada qualities. So it allows him to eat very little but look heavy, but he keeps supernatural speed to the point where he is technically Tontada in terms of speed, which are very fast. So Alpha is able to outspeed Mushiru and cut away all like the mushrooms in order to actually jump through them. So Mushiru can't dodge Alpha at all. We see Mushiru's a pretty effective fighter in the movie, that is. But this is enough openings for Zoro to actually take advantage of this and defeat what was it? Mushiru, kind of like a double teamed effort. Alice was more or less the assistant, and Zoro was like the main attack, saved up. And sort of, he stored up a good old onigiri. So yeah. Then while on the part, Luffy actually taught Chopper a few techniques to fight, like a few hand combat techniques, saying, oh, you want to save the country, right? I'll teach you a few like hand combat techniques. And Luffy teaches them to Chopper. So Chopper will basically target chest, and he's actually able to dodge chest abilities effectively. And he's using like kind of like a jujitsu hold that's actually able to get like he's actually able to get like chest in a hold. And he's able the hold kind of allows him to break most of the ribs in Chest's body immediately. Well, not if all the ribs in his body, but also his arms at the same time, so it defeats him. Because Chopper's body is supposed to like a chokehold, but Chopper's arm is just so big at the point where it covered his ribs too. But also his arms as well, so the neck isn't kind of covered at all, so it kind of just broke his arms and ribs all at once. It's effectively just a lying down bear hug. It's kind of what it was. Chopper can't fully do the hold just yet. He has to still learn it. So yeah. Then for Sanji, he fought Chess, and Chess tried to kick Sanji, knowing that he did. He's like, oh, you're sticking to me. Not your best option, because my legs are meant to hit you close up. You're making me get closer to you now. We're just gonna froze for a second, only get kicked in the face like 4 times in that second, and just get knocked out. Sanji just have to like tear off that pant leg though. Chest is stuck to it for a while. And Luffy just like the Wapol who tried to eat the two of them, but Luffy just like says, One Shadow style first stance, Endless Night, which is a diagonal slash in the end of the fight right then and there. No, actually, no, it's more like a vertical slash. So, yeah. So when you use a vertical slash on him, immediately he just took him out of the fight, and that was that. So, yep. Like Luffy's like, you are insanely weak. That was not a fun fight at all. And he turned away. Also, Luffy's sword for his abilities for Yorokubi, his second sword. That's the opposite of Nichoku, his darkness sword. They're like Yorokubi kind of like uses the opposite meanings of the attacks in like the original Shadow techniques. Like, this first stance for the One Shadow style is Endless Night, a diagonal slash or like vertical slash. Luffy has Luffy style first stance, Infinite Day compared to Endless Night. So yeah. It's not short day, it's more like Infinite Night. It's like, Infinite Day compared to Endless Night. And it's just a diagonal slash with Yorokubi. Or vertical slash. But Yorokubi is like burning instead of just internal damage, more or less. Because Luffy's Nishoku is like kind of like more, it's not more dull, it's just less attended to because the darkness kind of sharpens it itself. But also it's not as like sharp as like Yorokubi is, as it sharpens with passion and heat. So yeah. But yeah, this kind of concludes Drum Island now, and the crew is Alabasta with Vivi and Chopper on the crew. Now here's arc honestly isn't much different until Luffy's first encounter Crocodile, where Crocodile tries to impale him. Then the Crocodile tried to, though. Luffy would be able to use let out a giant slash of darkness. That angle is it resembles Yami's dimensional slash, basically. As he had used it, and immediately darkness comes at the edge, which Crocodile didn't expect. He's able to somewhat reflex, but you just get like a small bit, like a small bit, like cut across his chest. Now, Robin immediately doesn't know what this ability is. She's heard of the Kage clan. Luffy's definitely not a member, but still, he seems to know their abilities, and by his close, he seems to be at least a student of them, or at least someone who they let in. So yeah, Luffy and Crocodile have a very drawn-out fight, and his crew is watching this. But the rest, Luffy is not taking the fight seriously at all. As he came in skill, Luffy is rivaling someone like not like Mihawk, like rivaling him, but still his skill is very good even to Mihawk standards. Like Luffy's a master even to Mihawk's. Even Mihawk's idea of a sword master, Luffy's up there. Like Luffy overshadowed Zoro in that Mihawk fight. So yeah. Well, Luffy just kind of says that Crocodile's ability. Crocodile says Luffy's probably the strongest warlord besides maybe Mihawk or Hancock or Jinbei. Like out of besides those three, he's probably stronger than just the warlords, including him. But because of his Loki abilities, Crocodile does have a giant advantage over Luffy, which he does admit. Crocodile's like he's not shameless in this fight. He's not confident or arrogant at all. He just knows he's lucky right now. Luffy's skill is on great display. But by the end of the fight, Luffy does admit that Crocodile can get hit, but only if there's liquid around, and Luffy's only liquid is sweat. there wasn't much of that. So Luffy can just train for the next encounter, and Robin even gives him antidote to the poison in case he were to counter it. So yeah. But as Robin says, Luffy asks if she can read poneglyphs, and she says, yes, she can. She asks if Luffy can take her if he wins, and Luffy says, well, he has no need for her. He can read poneglyphs as well. She froze and gave Luffy a text telling Luffy to read it, and he read it perfectly. She was shocked, and she actually realized that Luffy can read poneglyphs and that he'd actually be very effective as an allied helper. So they both probably work together now. So with this, she actually tells Luffy she doesn't want to join Luffy's crew. She wants to actually join Luffy. Not the whole crew, just Luffy as someone that will he's more like his assistant than the crew's ally. And Luffy's okay with that. Saying something like this. The teacher assistant isn't the one to go out and help you. They're more or less the one that set up the classroom, do everything. They the side tasks. And Robin isn't the one that'll help the crew. No, she'll help Luffy. She does Luffy at all times, basically. And Luffy's okay with that. His crew's decently big, and they can help each other, so it works out. So this, Robin's even able to get Crocodile's poison out of his hook for a decent amount of time, so the poison isn't as potent when they let him in the fight next. So yeah, so with this, Luffy's actually able to fight against a few guys, Crocodile and a few his lackeys, so he beat Crocodile versus Luffy the first time with Pel's help. Luffy completely and utterly humiliated Crocodile with using Water Luffy, but also just intense abilities. Luffy immediately used Water Luffy and spat water all over the castle's top floor. Crocodile being covered in it, Luffy had used a technique that he improvised as he shot his legs into the ground and began kind of rotating his body through his legs. Until he said, "Oh, Luffy style." Then used Nichoku, saying, "Oh, Luffy shadow style, unknown stance, rotating darkness." This Luffy then wrote down completely and slashed through Crocodile's body. Not cutting him in half, but he cut him effectively. Luffy ended up cutting the whole castle in half as well, so, yeah. So with this, the whole castle cut in half. Even Robin shot Luffy in the fight Crocodile that quickly. So, yeah. Robin even got a bit of info, telling Luffy there's a bomb in so-so building. Pell flew for it, but Luffy had the Pell on his back. Luffy's on Pell's back. And Luffy's like, alright, just get the bomb, trust me. Pell flew, gave him the bomb. Luffy picked it up, using his raw strength, and using all his power as he could, he threw the bomb in the air as high as possible, by even stretching his arm as high as he could, and just kind of lobbing it in the air. So yeah. It blew up, and the shockwave shot Luffy, and Pell came to the pavement as hard as the shockwave could, and knocked them both out for like a day. So, yeah. One of the fights with the Straw Hats. So yeah, basically it was Zoro versus Mr. One. Zoro being like, he's into Elvis's teachings, like, your techniques are really strong, and so your skill, like your skill's amazing. But in my opinion, your body's kind of falling behind your strength. You should work on like using your sword techniques in your body. Luffy learned a martial art called Cho Hui Hong that allows him to use his body as a sword. Try that. So Zoro's like, I'm like, no sword style. I have that as well, but it's not as effective. Luffy's martial art should be as lethal as his sword is. Zoro kind of fought the whole fight using his bare fists, but using sword techniques. But in the fight, Zoro's covered in even more cuts, but wasn't hit as much. So yeah, like he wasn't hit as much as he can, at least with lethal blows. Well, that should have been lethal blows. But Zoro's still covered in like slashes. And Zoro plans to make his body as lethal as his sword is, without using one. So yeah, he's like my chops will be as lethal as my chops will be as lethal as slashes. My punches will be as lethal as stabs. That's like Zoro's goal is. Chops as effective as slashes, punches as lethal as stabs. So that's like his whole thing is. It's like, oh, you're just punching dummy. He'll punch it in a certain area constantly, but not using as much force as an actual punch would. He would just use it like he's stabbing a sword into someone's chest. So yeah. What else? Alvis, I don't think he'd fight anyone important like he would in canon. So yeah. So I think Alvis is like fighting marine lackeys and just remembers Baroque works. So yeah, now Nami versus Miss Golden Week. Or not Golden Week. Nami versus Miss. Fuck, what was her name? Miss Silverfinger. Nami fights Miss Silverfinger, but she's experienced with combat because it was made earlier. So with her being used to this weapon now, she's actually pretty easily able to end the fight without getting wounded at all. So yeah, but she doesn't undergo physical training until she does see the value in everyone training. So yeah, so Nami has enough physical ability to actually dodge all the attacks, but also use her contact a bit more effectively. And physical ability came along for yourself as well as when it came to fighting Mr. 4. He's actually pretty easily able to actually dodge a lot of the attacks and not get hit once, leading him not ending up in a full body cast. When he's like, Usopp, 5-ton hammer. No, he just used a giant sledgehammer that weighed a bit more than average. And then it right into Mr. 5's jaw after using like a Firebird Star, which Luffy did make for him as well, as Luffy's a pretty effective user of science as well. He's pretty advanced in terms of schooling techniques. So he learned everything he would need from a school, including science. But add like that teaching but times 1,000, so it's a bit more effective, like he's an actual chemist. Not like Caesar's level, but he's still a pretty decent chemist, so Firebird Stars weren't impossible. But Alvis is pretty helpful as well. So Firebird Stars were made right now, and not more like exploding stars. Firebird Stars are a bit less evolved. We still use almost 4 a few times, and his body's completely utterly burned into the fight though. This is like a few small bruises though. So yeah, Sanji fights Mr. 2, and he can't really hit him because he can't hit him because he turns into a she, or because of Mr. 2 being a comma. He's actually a she, but he's referred to as he constantly, so I don't think it matters. I'm pretty sure he goes by whatever. I'm gonna stick to he because everyone calls him. So Bon Clay basically just fights against Sanji. Sanji didn't land a hit on him, but Sanji basically just kind of like, oh, how about this? I'll only use defensive techniques, but defensive techniques that launch people. So he's able to kind of catch like attacks with his legs, but then flip and throw people. So like it's more or less just him training out his body to use these techniques, so he hurts himself more than he hurts his opponent. But all depends on how his opponent can take it being thrown. So Mr. 2 can take being thrown pretty well. He's being thrown so often to the point where it's hurting his body more and more. And it ended up with Sanji being an endurance battle. So Sanji had won the fight because he had better endurance. And so the fight was, but by the end, so just including endurance battle, and Sanji had won. He turns to Zoro a lot, so it came in clutch. And Gain was kind of like just watching like from above, just ready to jump in and beat up Mr. 2 if Sanji couldn't do it. So yeah. What else? Chopper. Chopper would fight, I would say, like, probably probably missed like Merry Christmas, so he beats her pretty easily as well with Chomp training as well. And yeah. Now Bone Clay does not get left at like well, he doesn't get left here, but he goes on his own. But they do end up exchanging a bit like resources. So yeah. And Robin joins as a member. Pell also joins because Vivi joined, and Pell joins as her lookout, Robin as her archaeologist, and Luffy's assistant. So yeah. But I think this will conclude a good part of the story, as I didn't think it would take me this long, but I'll be honest, I built at least to take up a decent portion of the video. I always enjoyed part 2 of what if Luffy had like shadow style, sorry if some stuff was retconned. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe for part 3. Adios.